YouTube, the place where anyone can share their own works for the crowd, whether it's to entertain their audience or whether it's to entertain anybody out there who happen to have a lot of free will in their power. And honestly, though, as much as a lot of us don't admit it right away, we still have our own perspectives of giving out comments, giving out what we think about them, or in this case, think about the most disgusting people out there. Wait, wait, I think it's about time I talk about something I need to talk about right now. Hey everyone, it's I, Flamingo Writer here, once again for another video. And yes, I know that if you've read the title of this video, you might be wondering what's going on. Well, few things before we get started. I'm going to be doing a series called Flamingo's Take On, which is basically a series of different bad users out there who have either gotten exposed for what they have done or created on this platform, or they're still doing a lot of dangerous shit. Now, as I said before, I'm no longer doing Madeline Hatter for these videos, mostly because my mental health has already been damaged by that, but that doesn't go on and such. So let's get started. Now, as you've read the title of this video, Flamingo's Take On is what I just said. But instead of talking about Maddie, let's talk about what I have been asked to talk about, RobbieAnimator2000, or whatever name he goes by, because honestly, I don't care at this point. What I do care about is how much this guy has been, well, not to brag or anything, he's really malicious. So let's talk about that, shall we? Now, before we get started, I'm going to have to lay a few ground rules here. If you are in any way uncomfortable off this video, because that's a video that's going to be a pretty one, especially because the subjects that's been discussed, I've decided not to talk about this with anyone that's gonna feel uncomfortable though. So if any one of you guys are watching, please click off if you're not into anyone that's gonna talk about subject manners at this point. So if right here where I talk about not just writings but also on different people though. Now my friend Hana, while I was originally gonna have her on this channel to talk about stuff though, she doesn't, or in this case they don't use this StreamYard anymore. So yeah, I'm gonna be by myself for this. But if you want to collaborate with me on different bad, onto the StreamYard so we can talk about different users and such. So without further ado, let's get started. Although I'm not going to show any pictures on this guy, but you can finally get the courage if you want to watch his videos, and let's get started. Now, later 2002, or for whatever name he goes by. Yeah, he's no longer on YouTube, but you can find his videos that are archived. But for this purpose, this video, I'm not going to show any videos because if I do, my channel might get demonetized about what he does and all that stuff. And I don't want no bad user on my channel if that's anything to judge by. I'll talk about them, sure, but I don't want their videos in there just to show that. Yeah, because I want you guys to encourage or something like that. I think it goes to anyways. The user, for those who don't know, RobbieAnimator2002 was one of those users who happened to be on YouTube back when he was still around. However, after getting exposed, I think was over a year ago, no less. But honestly, though, after watching the video that Hana sent to me on the link, it's no secret this guy is just disgusting. While doing some research on this guy, it's gonna cost me a lot of brain cells to need or bar. I'm gonna talk into them in different sections, so let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is attention seeker. One thing's for sure, a lot of us want to get attention, especially on on YouTube. I know I want to go through my own attention itself though, but this time this attention is definitely the case where he's desperate to have whoever he wants on his channel to the point where he can honestly manipulate those around him. And when you manipulate people around you, just to think about what your videos are, that's not something you want, especially on your resume, people. But what really gets me baffled about this guy is how much he is so desperate to get his attention that he just doesn't seem to understand. Now, I can guarantee attention seeking is not something that is going to require something bad per se all the time, but having that much attention just really shows how desperate you can be at times. I mean, Robbie Animator himself is really one of those users who happen to have a lot more of what goes on with that, though. What's even worse to me is that when looking on his videos that were archived, there was even one point where he actually started fake crying about something that he's wants attention because somebody wanted to do something with his body. Boy, I don't know what you're talking about, but what I will say though is this: if you're gonna fake cry something, people are gonna notice. They're gonna connect the dots there and think. And even with that said, however, I still have yet to ask one thing. Well, why the fuck would you think this was necessary to begin with? Even if you could make the argument that some people would actually do this just to make sure we're ready, though, that still raises a bunch of questions of why the hell was that necessary to begin with. And honestly, I wouldn't complain so much if it weren't for the fact that he wouldn't have done this so many times. Like, more times than you might think, though. I will admit that sometimes, even when videos get started, though, we usually do video activity is something that we all want in our lives, though. But with this guy, RobbieAnimator2002, I don't know what his intent was. Either to get sympathy because he thinks that would win him over, or the fact that he just wants everyone to feel sorry for him, and yeah, not a good look when you say that. Now, I will admit, I do have the feel of being sympathetic towards people who do have gone through their problems every so often, but here's my question. Why would you want to fake something like that? If anything, it's just make yourself even more like an idiot than anything. And even if there are people who do that stuff, and I'm not talking about big users, I'm talking about even the smallest users out there could do this. But that said, however, I'm still wondering what maybe, but I don't see what the point of it is if you just start blabbering and crying about it. That just makes me question, okay, if you want someone to... So, I'm not the most knowledgeable person when it comes to that, so let's get on to the other thing I want to talk about. Someone who is a furry like me, while I am a flamingo and some of my friends are furries, I'm gonna have to say this right here and now. Animal abuse is not okay. It's never gonna be okay, and anyone on the internet who's seen other users would already know that this is not okay. Now, I realize that some people out there aren't gonna be a fan of furries. Now, let me make one thing absolutely clear. There is nothing wrong with not liking furries. You can dislike us if you want, but just to say things like the most disgusting things out there is not okay. Especially because one of the videos that Hana sent to me, which again, I'm not going to show you on my channel, because if I do, my channel might get deplatformed. It was also noted that when doing a video on this here, he said something along the lines of, yeah, he's gonna be animal using. So I have to say this right here and now. I'm not going to show you the screenshot, but I will say I got it on my phone what she said here. Guess what? I choked my dog today, and I don't regret it it at all, but he's still alive. Yeah, I'm not gonna show you what he said. That's what he said on that. And let me tell you again, he said this and on the comments, and you can definitely tell that a lot of people were not happy about this. Hell, even if you don't like animals, which is kind of fucked up, I still find that hard to believe that you yourself, Robbie, would think this way. No, not Robbie Rotten. I'm still friends with the guy. No, I meant RobbieAnimator2002, and yeah, he does go by other names, but for the sake of this video, I'm just gonna call him Robbie Animator. It just makes things a lot more simpler and easier. Anyways, while we were doing research on this, though, I think he actually may have some kind of implications where it almost sounds like he's trying to be Pollution Entertainment. For those who are wondering, Pollution Entertainment was a user who had some of the things that he had though. Animal abuse and xenophobia, which, yeah, I'll get to that in a minute or so. But one thing that really gets to me about how it's RobbieAnimator is that he just seems to go out of his way to think that this is okay. Which, I may ask, why is this okay to you? RobbieAnimator just doesn't seem to understand that even if he uses this as to say that he wants to make a joke out of himself. Okay, let's get this out of the way. I have nothing against people using dark humor, but that's not dark humor. Dark humor is something that you're usually used in a way that may seem like it's all vulnerable, but it's also used in a way that you know where it's coming from. And you understand the joke if you know that. This is not joking around. This is animal cruelty and abuse. What's even worse, at least from my perspective, is that you seem to get the question of why does he do this? Why does he think this is necessary? And for that matter, why would he think that this is just gonna make him think that he's a good like that? But do you really expect me to believe this is necessary? From what I can tell, though, it's really a lot of these things he's been doing are just really about to tell you guys. And honestly, that's why I say, for the context of the video, if you're sensitive to any of these things, I don't want any of my audience to go ahead and freak out while they still can, though. So yeah, I'm not sure why he thinks this is necessary. Now, as someone's part of the furry fandom, I implore you to not trust this man. And don't worry, though, I know he's not on YouTube. At least I hope he doesn't come back, though. But let me say this for the record. I understand there are going to be dangerous people out there. I understand that. Because it's not just on YouTube, it can be on any platform. Whether it's on Twitter, TikTok, social media, etc. Yeah, honestly, though, there are going to be dangerous people out there. So if you're going to make the argument that it's only on YouTube, that's not always true. Yes, YouTube has a bunch of people out there that I can't explicitly say, even the users that I used to follow that don't follow and all that stuff, though. It really goes without saying that it's really not easy to judge by, even what's yet to come. So yeah, let's start with another topic right now. Okay, so one thing's for sure, though, when it comes to being desperate, you don't want anyone to think you're just desperate because that's all you want to do, though. Now, yes, like I said in the beginning, when you want attention on YouTube, it can work one of two ways. It can work when people that you really think that they should see your content to see what goes on with that, and or the fact that you just think the other way around, that you just want attention to show how much you want to show yourself. In the early days of YouTube, this has come on for a long time, though. Now, I realize some of my audience are going to say that everyone wants attention, and yes, we all want attention. We all want that. One thing I don't want, however, is this. Someone desperate to... Okay, you're not ready for this, but in case you guys don't know, he's so desperate that he also tries to ask one of the users out. That user being Rebecca Gilmore. Now, I don't know anything much about the information about Rebecca Gilmore, and feel free to comment about who she is and everything. But for those who don't know, Robbie, the animator, goes ahead and says that she looks and beautiful, and as such, though this is something that also goes so more to do so. Now, I did hear in the comment that when Hana's basically not leaving Robert Perry alone. Again, I don't know who these individuals are, so feel free to tell me who they are in the comments. So then you might think is that Robbie Animator just goes ahead and just says this beautiful comment and all that. Now I can already hear some of my audience saying that's really a compliment and you should accept compliments here and there. This person personally, do you even know what they look like? Even if they did or did not show their face personally, even if you could make the argument that this was supposed to be something nice, this kind of really raises red flags in my perspective, because one thing's for sure, you don't want anyone to go overboard with you thinking that, yeah, you're beautiful and that's, hey, can you date me or something? Yeah, in the video, I'm not going to show you, but he did say that he wanted to date somebody, which I'm not sure if this person was a minor, but if this was, that's a bunch of red flags waving life around with the wind. Because let's be honest, children use platforms as well, not just teenagers. Yes, back then you had to be 13 or up just to watch something on YouTube, even though I kind of disobeyed that myself. I was like, that said, however, YouTube nowadays is a platform that basically anyone can go onto, though. It's also whatever he wants because he's been going around here. That automatically means he thinks that it's all okay for him to do so. And let me remind you again, he's doing this to someone who's probably a minor. Now, like I said, I can't be certain if he's doing this or not. It's really horrendous and terrifying to see this, though. Like, who in their right mind would take that seriously? I know some people are gonna say that Maddie it does, and a lot of people want to show his nice fun as possible, though. And before you say anything, I wouldn't take that comment seriously, because what if they did this more often? Meet again. And I understand that a lot of people will take comments like that, but if you're gonna be commenting on people for how they look, it's gonna cringe some people out there. Look, I'm not stupid. I know some people are gonna say that maybe they're just trying to get some reaction out of it, which, yeah, to be fair, a lot of people do things for a reaction. That's true. What's not good, though, is how you're wording it, though. Yeah, you have to be careful what you word on these platforms, because otherwise it's gonna cause a lot of suspicious hunches here and there, and you don't want that. You don't want anyone to think that automatically means it's okay, though. But we're not done yet. Let's talk about another, these two other topics. God help me. Alright, as someone who's been going through this for a while throughout my life, let's talk about xenophobia. For those who aren't aware, though, xenophobia is not something that anyone wants to go through, because this basically means that you have a grudge or some kind of hatred against the people who are outside of your race. Now, as somebody who went through xenophobia through a hypocrite in real life when I was young, I'm not gonna say that who it was, though, because I was around people who are biased, around people who are either full-blooded or they just don't understand my own race at times, though. What I can tell you is that if you're gonna make fun of someone's race, or in this case say, oh, I hope your country dies or something, yeah, that's automatically something you don't automatically want on your channel, especially because in the following comments that I saw when watching the video again, he said something about Ukraine. Before we get any further, let me say this. If any of you guys who watch my videos are from Ukraine, I do apologize for this. I really do. I mean, trust me, I don't know where exactly this guy's from. For all I know, he could be like me who's from the US, but I'm not gonna say specifically where I am from the US. But what really bothers me about this bastard is that he really goes so far as to say, oh, I don't like the Ukraine, or he hopes Ukraine dies, or some shit like that. Okay, it's one thing for sure that you don't like the Ukraine, which I don't know anyone from the Ukraine. Hell, I don't ever know what's it like there, and I've never been to the Ukraine, so I don't know what's it like there. But what I do know is that if you're gonna like this, that's just gonna wreak a lot of hollow questions. Like, you mean to tell me you'd rather have them die from what's going on, though? I don't know what grudge you have against that, but one thing I do know for sure is that this is intolerable. It's also worth pointing out that if you act like this, people are gonna get really fed up with your bullshit. It's even worse when you realize that this man, or this asshole right here, just doesn't seem to care. Again, I know xenophobia is something that a lot of us have probably went through in our lives. I went through it myself as being a half Puerto Rican, so I know what this shit's like. But what's really not done good is how many people think that it's okay to just call them out for calling them names or anything like that. That would be like me saying I don't like people who are from the UK, and you're just gonna say you don't like the UK because you're not from there. Yeah. I mean, I've seen other people who've went through xenophobic insults worse than this, sure, but it's no excuse for how much he's also gone around to it, though. And again, I know this guy is no longer on YouTube. I know he isn't. But if he was on here, this would be extremely dangerous with all the stuff I pointed out to you guys. However, aside from that, from the xenophobic insults, I have this to ask. What the fuck did they ever do to you? From my perspective, they did nothing to you. And if anything, though, it just makes it even worse when you realize that there are a bunch of people who are not going to be born from where you're from. Do you think that people who are born from where they're from automatically know where they're going to be born? I mean, as someone who's from the US, I can reassure you that's not their fault. It's one thing that you really get upset at, that and be upset about what they're from, but it's another that you do realize that people are not going to be born where you're from. There are different parts of the world out there, whether it's from the US, UK, Canada, Asia, anywhere out there. It's not their fault that they go through this. If you don't like the place, fine, but that's not their fault. And if anything, I sure hope the Ukraine people have never even heard or anything about you or watch your videos, because if they did, they would turn off their screens right away and hope for the best. Nothing else would be like that. And speaking of the worst, okay, I think those who actually know RobbieAnimator2002 would already know what I'm getting into. And be warned, folks, this is not going to be pretty. It's going to be disgusting. So I recommend, if you don't want to see it by the end of this video, I'd recommend clicking. So bad, so heinous, so disgusting that you might be puking already. Strap yourselves, everybody, because there goes nothing. And the one thing that a lot of people wanted me to talk about, or in this case I wanted to talk about anyway, is, I hate saying this, his foot fetish. Really had to take a pause there. Not just because this is something that sounds gross, but it also shows how much of a fetish this guy has. First off, in case you don't know, there was a picture of him sending a pic about his own feet. Not really a picture you get off of Google or anything like that. His actual feet. And his feet fetish is, what I can tell, is disgusting. It's horrendous. It's something that everybody has already discussed about their reaction to when they've heard about this guy. Now, like I said before. I understand there are going to be dangerous people on the platform, or in this case, people doing stupid stuff, but this is not okay, especially because there are users out there who would never intentionally do this, unless you're someone like this guy, but still. Yeah, honestly though, this is one case where I still have to ask, what the fuck were you thinking? Like, aside from everything I've been through, this is one case where I have to ask another question. Did you really think you don't care about the people? And it's one thing that you want attention, Robbie Animator, but it's another that you realize that this is something that I don't think anyone would have gotten in the first place. Like, after finding archived videos about this weasel, it makes me wonder how the hell did you think he was gonna get away with this? Now, I'm not gonna show you the feet or anything because I know that they're censored, and when something is censored, it usually shows a block here and there or whatever they use to scrape it off to make it sure that it doesn't get demonetized or something like that. But oh, GD God, this right here is where a lot of things broke myself loose. There are no words big enough to describe how much this guy was desperate. Like, so desperate that I thought I've looked for something that was worse than I thought it would be. Now, again, while he has been exposed ever since last year of February 15th of that still doesn't make it up for everything he's done in YouTube so far. So, let's see if we got all the points to figure it out, though. He's desperate, he wants attention from himself, he's kind of like a person that just wants someone to date with, even though he wouldn't leave them alone and such. And even with that said, however, he still acts like he's kind of part of this. Now, some people could say he's just trolling around, which I can kind of understand, because honestly, this has been on for YouTube for maybe as long as YouTube has existed. But let me remind you, trolls don't just say every platform on here, because if I did, I'd sound like a broken record. But the gist of it is, I still don't get what his point of his own secretary is, though. Like, is this really how he wanted to show himself that he's a part of who he is? You can have all the attention all you want to make yourself look like you want to be somebody. That's fair, because all of us want to ask, why would you do this? And I'm not gonna lie, this is one case where I thought I was gonna be sick for the rest of my life. Is that discussion before you hit any of you guys say people are gonna probably think I should have done this last year, but like I said in one of my videos, I couldn't do it last year. I had a lot of work to do, I was taking care of my family, I didn't have much of a writing job that time though, but I was doing something to develop with kids and all that stuff. But to give you guys advice though, don't ever do this shit. Like, at all. Even if you want attention, I'd recommend giving attention in the most positive light, so you can have people look up to you. If not, then yeah, your YouTube channel is probably gonna be gone. Or if it's in Maddie's case, you could be a Karma Houdini. I guess from this though, you can definitely tell this was not the video I was hoping to do, but well, I wanted to do a video list about on the take on though. I mean, if you have any suggestions of who I should take, if anything, no, I'm doing my best to keep up with writing videos, the literary podcast, and this one. So yeah, that's 3 series that I have now. I hope to not make too many series on my channel, because if I do, it would be a discombobulated mess. But even with that said, I do hope and pray that a lot of you guys stay safe from, not just with Maddie, not just with RobbieAnimator, but with anyone out there though. Because, like it or not, dangerous people will be everywhere you go, and it's best for you to stay safe before it's too late. Damn. I think this is longer than I could say about the Maddie situation. I guess that's what goes to show you about that. Now, like I said, guys, I'm not gonna do the Maddie saga anymore, and for that matter, I'm not gonna do one individual just to make a huge series out of. I'm not doing that. I am gonna take one episode at a time for every different user I want to talk about, and the next user, if I ever do one about the Take On series. Again, you can leave free in the comments about anything though. And honestly, I think I've had enough with RobbieAnimator, at least from what I said about in this video. But with that said, thank you all so much for watching. See you all next time, and as always,